take a second and say, have you guys been having a good time? Are you enjoying the speakers? So I want to say thank you so much again for coming. We still have 2 more speakers this afternoon, and then we'll be done around 2 p.m. I want to also make the connection that if you haven't noticed already, we have a mix of in-town speakers and out-of-town speakers. We do that very specifically because we want to bring exciting inspiration from other communities, but we also want to recognize the work that's being done in Knoxville. It would be crazy for us to be like, hey, have you guys heard of placemaking? Because you guys already have. Like, you are doing the work in Knoxville and you care about this. We just want to get everybody a little bit excited and on your team. So I wanted to make that connection that we're doing about every other. So like up next, we're going to have Wills. He's going to come talk, and he's from Knoxville area or lives in Knoxville area. And then we're going to have our last speaker, and we're going to end the day, and that's going to be really sad. But what I want to say right now is if you love the summit, maybe also show a little bit of love to KKB, because we put this on every year. It takes a lot of time to coordinate bringing all these speakers here and to put together a program that's very exciting for you all. And it's not free for us to do, we have expenses for this. So if you guys want us to continue the beautiful placemaking work that we do, if you want us to continue with all of our volunteer cleanups and beautification projects, there is a QR code on your table tents. So that's my gentle pitch. Thank you, everybody. And we also have, if you want a little something with your donation, you can buy a KKB sweatshirt. We have those over at our table there. They're a minimum suggested donation of $35. They were designed by Paris Woodhull specifically for us. So they have lovely volunteers doing so many different cool things on them. So if you guys want that, feel free to donate as much as your heart desires to get a sweatshirt. So
it matches some of the murals around town.
Exactly. So there are a lot of you wearing the sweatshirts already, which I'm obsessed with. So, and I love seeing them out in the wild, just like our t-shirts. So feel free. Okay, I'm going to bring back up Ben because I'm tired of talking. Okay.
I mean, coffee costs so much these days. I'm sure I've bought like a $9 cup of coffee in this town. Just $20 towards KKB would just go such a long way. What if everyone in here did that? It's right on your table, people. Okay, we've got 2 more speakers. Wills is our local. He is getting his undergraduate degree in architecture and design at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. But he also is the Design Works and Community Collaborative Coordinator at the East Tennessee Community Design Center. He's going to tell you about the Community Design Center, but if you don't know, they do, they support community-driven design. So they pull together all of the folks who know how to do that stuff, and then they give those resources to the community. I went off script, but it's right here. So, well, you're going to tell us the rest that we need to know, Wills. Wills, get up here. Come on.
Alrighty. Like you said, my name is Wills McAdams. I'm a project coordinator at the East Tennessee Community Design Center. I've done that for about 1.5 years now. It's a position that was actually Dustin's. Dustin, you're missed. I'm selfishly glad that you're gone because this has been awesome for me. It's been a really great opportunity. But why I'm here, as somebody that was only legally allowed to drink 2 years ago and still in school, I've kind of been asking myself the same thing for a little while. But by the end of it, if I can tell you guys about the Design Center and the work that we do, then I'll call it a success. So let's go ahead and get into it. So our mission at the Design Center is to envision, inspire, and improve East Tennessee through design. We are a nonprofit design center that provides design services to people that normally would not be able to afford them. Our 4 criteria are right here. You have to be a nonprofit or community organization. The work that we do has to impact the entirety of the community, not just the organization that you represent. You need to be able to prove that you could not get these services from the private sector, and just be willing to prove commitment to see the project through start to finish. We serve a 16-county region. We've got projects all throughout East Tennessee. If you drive through Knoxville, there's probably something that we've worked on, you just don't realize it. So this is our process. We have people reach out to us. They present our project before our committee. That goes through approval. We find you a volunteer. We're a small staff, so we have to outsource a lot of our work to local architects and designers, and they've been really accommodating to us over the years. Just some quick numbers. This past year was our 55th year of operating. We are, to our knowledge, the oldest design center in the US. Same deal, 16 county regions. We've done over 1,300 projects, and we have logged over, as far as we know, it's kind of hard to get volunteers to report their hours, over 100,000 hours. So the work that we do just wouldn't be possible without them. Day to day, we normally have around 15 active projects at a time. Part of why we outsource a lot of our work. We have a generous number of sponsors and members and donors that make our mission possible. And then the community collaborative, which I'm going to touch on a little bit more here in a bit. We've done 5 of those to date. It's just a really in-depth project that we do yearly. So just to show you some projects that we've done recently, some of my favorites. This is Heritage Park. It's done in Union County. It's a farmer's market expansion. Union County loves to celebrate local country music. There's been a lot of famous country music artists that came out of Union County, and they have a wall commemorating them. Another one is the Botanical Gardens, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. We've done work with them many times over the years, but most recently, about a year ago, we did a historic preservation plan for them, trying to fix up some of the things that needed fixing while keeping the character of the Botanical Gardens itself. This is the Educator Resource Center. It's on North Broadway. If y'all ever take that route, you might see it. It's a beautiful building. The Resource Center is just an organization that provides K through 12 teachers that are local with essentially everything that they could need, from mental health services, exercise facilities, after-school daycare for their kids, and just supplying them with the things that they need. This is Faith and Friends. Faith and Friends is a horse rescue and sanctuary. They had to move locations, so we helped them find a site, did a whole comprehensive program plan, and just fleshed out new facilities for them. This is Minot Park. This is just an accessible pavilion that kind of commemorates the history of Minot Park and the Lucinda Ogle cabin. That one was done in-house as well. And that's just super quick, 5 of them. I mean, I see a lot of familiar faces in here, people that have helped us out over the years. Jack Coker is here. He's working with us on Linear Park in Belmorris. Catherine is over here as well. Her and some people at Lowe's have been helping us out with another park called Clark Center Park. We do a wide range of things. We do facade enhancements, we do master planning, community input. We've done community centers, pocket parks, you name it, we've probably done it. But that brings me to the community collaborative. The collaborative is the biggest annual project that we do every year. So it unites organizations around Knoxville to face local challenges. We'll take a part of Knoxville that could really use some love, some redevelopment. And we get really in depth as to what we could do and really just examine the potential that that site could have. This year we're looking at 2 Knox County owned sites in North Knoxville. They have deep historic roots and major potential to serve future civic and community needs. It's all community informed, examines opportunities for adaptive reuse, connectivity, long-term sustainable redevelopment that responds to both neighborhood context and community needs. So this is a brief timeline of how the collaborative works. The Design Center does a lot of research and planning in-house to kind of get things going. We hold community input sessions to get a sense of what locals think should happen, could happen. UT College of Architecture and Design, they usually have studios that kind of do their own spin on it as well. Historically, it's been third-year studios. This year, we bumped it up to fifth-year studios to try to get some better work out of it. We actually have 3 different studios doing it this year, too. Third years are great. I mean, I was one of the third-year students that worked on it, too, so I give myself some grace. That leads to a design charrette where we have local firms, engineers, designers do their own spin on it as well. And then ultimately, it'll become a publication that we share publicly and give to the client by the end of it. So these are the 2 sites that we're looking at for this year's collaborative. Like I said, both in North Knoxville. One is on North Central Street. The other one is on Fifth Avenue. So really in a very important part of Knoxville. The Knox Central site, it's right beside Three Rivers Market, if anybody's familiar. The other one, just a stone's throw away from the new baseball stadium. If any of y'all have noticed, like some of the local businesses around there, they'll like sell their parking spots on game days. And if they sell out their parking spots every single game, then, you know, you kind of have a sense of the potential of that kind of a site. So that brings me to the first one, Knox Central. It houses many of Knox County's operations, including veteran services, records management, and their purchasing division. And then the next one is KCS Maintenance and Operations on Fifth Avenue. It's Knox County Schools Maintenance and Operations Department, supporting the upkeep of school facilities across the district. Like I said, both of these sites have deep historical context. The Knox Central site was actually a Sears building constructed in 1948. It celebrated the city's original big box retail destination with multiple levels, marble floors, escalators. It was really incredible for its time. Just shifted like a shopping model that wasn't originally in Knoxville. Just a shift in consumer behavior, emphasizing convenience, get everything you need under one roof. They also had the biggest parking lot in the city at the time. It had over 400 spots. It still does. It closed up in 1984, and then it was repurposed into office and warehouse space for Knox County School System. Now it serves in a civic capacity. And then the KCS site, this one's a little bit older, constructed in 1929. It originally served as a Chevrolet Motor Company's regional parts distribution center. It supplied auto parts throughout East Tennessee into North Carolina, Virginia, Alabama, other places. It was always long thought to just be a regular industrial warehouse until about a month or 2 ago. We found out that it was designed by Albert Kahn, who is a pretty famous architect out of Detroit. He's known for his industrial work, and that was a really cool discovery that we came upon. Over the decades, it's had a lot of different uses. It was pharmaceutical manufacturing, consumer goods distribution, and then it transitioned to municipal use for Knox County Schools. So this past August, we had a community input session. We had about over 100 people come share their thoughts. It was a dotmocracy, so we asked questions about housing, transportation, green spaces. Whatever answer you felt most called to, you just placed a dot. Each dot was coded by zip codes, so we knew who was saying what, where that input was coming from, and then synthesized it all down to an executive summary that we're going to share with design teams later on. This is the grounding work that all design will later be based off of. That brings me to student work. We had 2 studios this past semester. One was a 5th year, one was a graduate studio. It was just early investigations, schematic design and urban planning. So many different scales of work, so many different ideas. This studio was very, very research heavy, again, laying the groundwork for design work that'll come later on. One of my favorites looked at the KCS site. It sits right there on East Magnolia, the main corridor into East Knoxville. So during that research phase, the student really looked at East Knoxville, tried to figure out why East Knoxville is the way that it is. There's kind of a stigma attached to East Knoxville if you're from around here. And not to like geek out on you a little bit, but it's a long time coming, all the way back to like 1956, Highway Act put the interstate into Knoxville, later Hall of Fame, and just created a clear divide between East Knoxville and the rest of Knoxville. That followed by decades of redlining, decades of lack of investment, kind of brought us to where we're at today. There have been attempts to kind of bring East Knoxville back into the fold. 2 years ago, KCDC, Knoxville's Community Development Corporation, they did a whole awesome East Knoxville reconnection plan. It was like $40 million plan, and then it got cut by the Big Beautiful Bill. And the leftovers went to the Gay Street Bridge. So just an example of that. So this student looked at the KCS site, tried to think of how it could like catalyze new commercial development into East Knoxville, sitting right there at the corridor. I mean, it's the closest part that you're going to get to downtown Knoxville, so it makes sense for it to start there. They kind of built onto that reconnection plan, saying, okay, if this happened, what would phase 2 look like? Greenway connections are great, like new multimodal paths, great, sidewalk improvements, great. But at the end of the day, what East Knoxville needs, in my opinion, was commercial redevelopment. So the student found 5 different parcels that were vacant, publicly owned, said like, oh, if a grocery store went here, this is what it would do. If you put after school programs here, that's what it would do. So that was just one of 15 different student proposals that I liked. Definitely not because that was my proposal, but so that was just this past semester studio. There's going to be 2 more studios working on it right now. Just a plethora of student work that is being done. And then that takes us to now. We have a design charrette that's ramping up, the part where local firms do their own spin on it. Sorry, let me find where I'm at. It's a multi-month effort that brings together architects, designers, engineers, students, nonprofit partners, community stakeholders to explore the future potential of both of these sites. That community input that was done in August is going to be the groundwork. The student work that was done is also going to lay the foundation. All of the teams that are invited to participate are going to develop their own independent design response, offering a distinct perspective on how these properties could be reimagined to better serve the surrounding communities. Rather than single proposals, the charrette emphasizes exploration, dialogue, collaboration, and these resulting concepts will test a range of programmatic, architectural, and urban strategies, highlighting possibilities for adaptive reuse, community benefit, long-term civic impact, etc. This charrette is going to take place in early February. The kickoff is next week, and it's going to run all the way to mid-April. And all of that is going to culminate into a public exhibit by the end of it, which will happen in May. These ideas will serve as a resource for Knox County, local stakeholders, and future decision makers as the conversations around the reuse of these buildings continue. Ultimately, by the end of it, we hope that all of this work will inform an RFP for Knox County, give them something to really consider before they make a quick decision, just because both of these sites have so much potential. That brings us to the kickoff. If you are an architect, engineer, designer, developer, artist, muralist, if you have any interest, if you know anybody that would have any interest, please let them know about us, get them involved. They can visit our website, they can reach out to me. But we really need all hands on deck here. The more people we have, the better. The more ideas we have, the better. And then with that, I'll leave you with one more quick little statement. Design holds the most inherent value whenever it meaningfully serves people. Our discipline, our profession as architects, demands deep attention to process and precision. We're forced to think big picture and small picture, all the way from big conceptual frameworks down to the tiny details of a window mullion. And whenever you have to do that kind of big and small, it's pretty easy to lose like the reason why you're doing it. All of those efforts are ultimately hollow if they don't respond to the needs of the community. Architecture is not an end in itself. It's not buildings. It's a vessel for connection, dignity, growth, and care for the community.
That is incredible work. You guys are gonna come up and help me do this. So I have personally used the East Tennessee Community Design Center in my placemaking work over the last 15 years, working alongside the Lonsdale community and the Inskip community and the Mascot rural community and Beardsley Community Farm. So he's telling the truth. It works. They've helped us with a bunch of placemaking projects, and that's been really cool. What do you guys do? I'm just kidding. I know what you're doing. We are at our final presenter, which I am so excited about. If you don't know Jon Jon Wesolowski, you should. He's known online as the Happy Urbanist. He is one of the reasons that I dip into social media from time to time and see the cool stuff that's happening. You want to come up here and mess around?
Would you like me to
Come on.
the computer?
So, while they're doing that, don't worry about them. So Jon Jon lives in Chattanooga, and he is online getting people pumped up about what they can do in their communities to change the built environment. He's going to talk today about community-driven placemaking, specifically around bicycle pedestrian infrastructure. He loves long bike rides. I want to talk with you later, Jon Jon, about bike camping trips that you may have gone on. Hiking, he's got 2 kids, Finn and Ellie, and a wife who I can't remember her name, who's in over there, but yeah, he'll tell you. You're all hooked up. Okay, great. Wonderful. I'm gonna hand it off. Give him an enormous round of applause.
There were 3 of us in the middle of a street painting the crosswalk. It was the beginning of a block party and the street had been closed off, and we figured this was as good a time as any to paint a crosswalk. We didn't have any permits, we didn't have any permission. We were just doing it in part because the street was already closed and a church and community had asked for it. Halfway through this project, my worst fears were confirmed when I saw a police patrol car driving by us and beginning to slow down. I looked at the people with me and I said, "Don't worry about it, I know exactly what to do." In my head, the narrator said he had no idea what to do. And then as the car slowed down, turned around, and parked in the parking lot closest to us, I looked at everyone and I said, "Don't worry about talking, I know just what to say." And the narrator says he had no idea what to say. But then something happened. They opened up their trunk and they started unloading stuff and didn't bother us at all. They were actually there for the block party too. They were part of the community engagement team. And I said we didn't pull a permit, but we pulled the closest thing to a permit we could get, which is just like yellow reflective vests and clothes. And so they didn't question us and they didn't stop us. And so there's the crosswalk we painted. There's where they were setting up. I went to my friend who organized the block party and I was like, "You literally put the cops right next to where we were going to be painting the crosswalk?" And he's like, "I thought you would be done before they showed up." I was like, "Well, you weren't. Well, you weren't." What we did was illegal, but it was also the right thing to do. And by the way, the cops came up afterwards and said, "Thank you so much for what you do. We have a lot of pedestrian deaths in our city. It's increasing. We need to do something about this." And I don't know if that was them saying, "We know this isn't on the level, but we are okay with it," or if they just assumed our vest permits were legit. Hey everybody, my name is Jon Jon. I go by the Happy Urbanist online. I need to update my headshot because I now shave my head. You can find me at jonjon.jpg on TikTok and Instagram. I'm first and foremost an idea translator, meaning to bring ideas that sometimes are esoteric and walled in with decision makers and academics, and I want to bring them to everyone. I also have a Substack at the Happy Urbanist, and if you follow along there, that's where I do a little bit more deep dive into more nuanced thoughts. But today I want to talk about the problems that we have as cities. We have deficits. We have infrastructure that is decaying, and anytime we seem to get funding for infrastructure, it's tied around building new stuff that we're going to have to maintain in the future. We have transit systems that are under immense pressure. We have rising costs of everything. We have deferred maintenance, decreasing revenues within city workers, high turnover rates. My friend did a study and found that in a one mayoral term in Chattanooga, there's 1,000 turnovers within the city government of Chattanooga. This current mayor, his first term, 1,600 turnovers. So we don't have a lot of institutional knowledge that's sticking around. And we also have things like pension liabilities and retirements that are at a breaking point. And so we come here and we're talking about placemaking, and I think one of the things that we forget is that it is a collaborative process. Everyone here today has actually been in agreement with this, but the average person who isn't here today thinks of placemaking as like a top-down thing. I need permission. I need someone to come help me do this. But I'm going to say we need people to step in before they have permission, before they have the process down. Because at the end of the day, when we're talking about the public realm, we're talking about the space between buildings, the places that we inhabit with other people in public. And both of these are examples of the public realm. You can have a public realm that looks like this and one that looks like this, and they're both a result of policies and what you prioritize as a city. And if this is what's getting built in your city, then you have to realize that sometimes you're going to have to work outside of those policies. So, before we go, I want to get some common language. We're going to be talking about a spectrum here today. I call it the librarian to pirate spectrum. Okay. With the librarian, I'll stand over here so I'm talking about the librarian. The librarian is cool, calm, collected, analytical, follows processes, is very studious, and follows through. The pirate is shoot first, ask questions later, figure things out, action-oriented. Who do you want making serious decisions for you? Raise your hand if you're team librarian. Okay? Raise your hand if you're team pirate. Raise your hand if you're an introvert and you didn't raise your hand because you're Okay, here's the thing. I didn't tell you what the question was, right? Like, if you're going to have someone put you under, like, general anesthetics, you probably want the librarian doing that, right? You probably want someone who's studied, who understands metabolism, whatever it goes into, whatever I just said. And then, over here, if you're going to have, like, a field medic or an EMT dress your wounds, you don't want someone who needs a perfect environment for everything to work. The real answer is we do need both. But I will say this. This is my argument. Most people in city government, most people who show up to the boring meetings, who geek out about zoning, those people tend to be more on the librarian spectrum. Today, I'm going to be talking about the opportunity that lies towards the pirate spectrum. I want you to know I am a rule follower. I am the middle of 9 kids. I have 2 older brothers, 2 younger brothers, 2 older sisters, 2 younger sisters. Everyone is right-handed except the 3 middle are left-handed and I'm ambidextrous. I'm so symmetrical. And all I want to do is follow every rule. You know when you stub your toe and you're around a kid and you want to say a cuss word and you say something else? I'm the opposite. As an adult, I want to say shoot, and I have to think, I'm an adult, I should say something more mature than that. But I love the pirate that's come out because I've started to realize sometimes following a moral code or moral rules means you're going to have to break stupid rules. So, I don't know if I have permission to do this, but I'm going to encourage all of you to do something illegal by the end of today. All right? Let's keep going. One problem we have within cities is we're really good at sharing 2 different visions of the future. One is dystopian, nothing is going well, nothing is going to end well. This seems very easy to talk about now. On the other end of the spectrum is utopia, where we like to talk about no matter what happens, technology is going to save us, we're going to figure this out. Here's the thing, I don't think they're opposite ends of the spectrum, I think they're opposite ends of a horseshoe. They both lead to inaction. They both give you permission to back off because guess what? If everything's going to shit, you are going to give up. And if no matter what happens, it's going to be all right, you don't need to participate. So I want to sell a different version, and this is going to be Protopia. I'm getting this idea from Kevin Kelly, who helped found Wired magazine. He's a futurist. Some of his stuff he says is weird, but I like this, which is basically, it's not utopia, everything's going to turn out okay. It's everything has the possibility to turn out okay, but it's going to require you. Things can get better, you got to jump in. Let's get going. We're going to do this in 3 different movements. I'm talking real fast because I want to get you all out of here on time. The first one is we're going to be talking about lots of little things, all right? I am a big fan of lots of little things. I'll explain that. The next thing is going to be copy and paste. We're going to look at different examples that are happening throughout the country. How can we copy and paste these ideas and just steal them? And then the last thing is we want to talk about making it official. We're going from pirates to where this is going to become policy. So from pirate to policy is another name for this section. Let's get going. Lots of little things. By the way, I thought like, hey, this would be cool to like hand draw on my slides to show that I do things quick and whatever. This takes like 5 times as much time. So this is like, it symbolizes something, but it's not real. Okay, the first thing I want to talk about is a long tail. Are there any statistician or mathematicians in here who know what the long tail is? Okay. Don't question me on this. I'm pretty sure I have this right. So the long tail is actually just a pretty normal phenomenon that happens. Whenever you look at the distribution of things, and I said that generically because I mean the distribution of anything, you're almost always going to see the majority of it run by a few different groups, right? So, you have TV, and it's ABC, NBC, CBS, and then the long tail is cable TV. So what Ted Turner did to become a billionaire was say, hey look, here's 4 channels going to millions of people, here's thousands of channels going to millions of people. So that's the long tail, okay? This is everyone else collectively. When you think of bookstores, you had Borders, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble. They sold thousands of titles, which each sold millions of copies. Amazon came in and captured the long tail. They sold millions of titles that sold thousands of copies. So what we need to realize is that everything is being disrupted by this long tail. It's lots of little actions stacked together, equaling as much as the big actions that we are intimidated by. So when we look at cities, we get really excited about these huge brand deals, this big corporation that's going to help shape this neighborhood. Cool, I hope that works. But we have to start realizing half of the collective action is equal to whatever these big things are. And we need to get people activated that. So insert your local movement right here, down at the smallest possible level. Because right now, you have a problem, and this is you. You are small, your problem is big. It doesn't matter how much hustle culture you follow, how effective you get, how early you wake up, how much sleep you're deprived of, you're never going to solve problems by yourself. But then, collectively, with community, that's how you're going to fill up that problem. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I call it microdosing change. This actually, I wanted to draw a mushroom, and then I was like, all right, I'll figure this out. And so the initial slide was called Start Crappy. Then I changed it to Start Shitty. And then I was like, microdose change. We'll do that. Okay. I want to start with my neighbor, Vidi. Vidi lives across the street from me. And Vidi grew up in Mexico, and then in our neighborhood, which is up and coming, Highland Park. It's like one of the biggest neighborhoods in Chattanooga. A house just sold there for $750,000 this year, and you could buy a house for $20,000 10 years ago. That's how much change is happening in this neighborhood. Vidi saw something most people didn't see, which is food insecure neighbors, and she decided, hey, I'm going to put a fridge outside, and I'm going to let people drop off food in that fridge, and I'm going to let people take food in that fridge. It's not going to be like a food pantry. You don't have to show up at a certain time. There's not always going to be something in there. And so she decided she was going to do it. She put that out into the world. Someone donated a fridge. And then she used a local giving circle called the Un Foundation in Chattanooga to fund the shelter. She found someone to host it, and she put the fridge up. And she taught me this term, mutual aid. It's this idea of charity, but instead of it being top-down, benefactor, patronizing, it's the people who need help are also able to be a part of creating the support, creating the help. And one of the things she taught me that's going to be important later is that she said, when you pass by the fridge, please open it up and look inside. Take a picture of it, post it on your story. If there's something there you need, take it. If there's something there you have to drop off, leave it. If you have time to clean it, needs clean, clean it. But if nothing else, post it on your story so that people know the conditions and other people can donate and other people can take it. But what this did is it had this like virality that caused the story to exponentially grow. And she was featured on things like 60-second documentaries, went crazy. I think there's like 4 or 5 fridges around Chattanooga now. She has her hand only in this one. But I want to talk about this because it was a small problem. It's still going strong, but it was part of that bigger effort. Now, hold that loosely. We're going to come back to it. I now want to tell you about my story in Buffalo this year. East Buffalo, like the east parts of most cities, is a really challenging place. One of the most striking images to me is this huge Catholic church that used to represent this giant Polish demographic in Buffalo, and it's surrounded by fields of empty lots. It almost looks post-apocalyptic in how barren it is. It's a place that you're not going to have big investors come in. And so this guy, Chris, who's become my friend, he bought a property. He started a 501c4, which is a certain type of nonprofit. And one of the things he started doing with it was just like planting trees. And he was like, we need more shade. The urban heat island effect is bad here. We have all these empty lots. And he took the place across from where his nonprofit was and a couple housing units. He's also like an avowed socialist. So it's called Eugene V. Debs Hall, which is an American socialist candidate for president like all those years ago. So he's coming in there and he's like, you know what? These empty lots across from me, this is going to be the main square for East Buffalo. I'm going to start planting trees. And got a landscape architect to draw up plans for a future park. The city was like, hey, chill out. This is city property. You can't do this. And he's like, okay. And he still does it. He opens up fire hydrants and like plants, like waters them with the city's own water. He brought out a former mayor's family to the park with press to introduce them to Frank Schwab Square, the future site of a plaza named after their dad. And at that point, the city's like, okay, it'll be a future garden. It'll be a future square. He didn't have permission. He just started planting trees. He's planted upwards of 250 trees, and it's a huge labor of love. You have to water them so much early on, and it takes 4 hours every other day to water the trees, and he has volunteers do it, he has neighbors doing it, and his action brought that community together. Another small thing I want to show you, because this is the section of lots of little things. Let's make a sidewalk. My friend came to me and said, hey, I got this problem. And in my neighborhood, the sidewalk ends, there's a railroad, then the sidewalk begins. This is a blackberry bramble. Students going to school walk in the street. I want the city to build a sidewalk. What do? I was like, here's your problem, dude. If you had full funding and permission to do this, it might take 5 years to get permission from that railroad. He's like, no, it's a closed down railroad. I was like, railroads don't give up their property. We have a street that's been since 2000, Main Street in Chattanooga has been slated to be repaved since 2022, and it might get paved this year. Each year the holdup is a railroad company. I said, if you're going to want to do something, you're going to have to do it yourself. He's like, how do we do this? I said, what's your budget? He said, absolutely $0. I said, okay, I have some colorful, I said, well, let's start by mowing it. So that's what he did. He got his little electric Ryobi mower, mowed it. It didn't work. People still walked in the street. He said, what else can we do? I said, I have these bricks from an event we did. They're painted. Maybe if you delineate space, people will see that it's a trail. It'll work. He's like, hey, do you have any more bricks? I don't have enough. Didn't have enough. I came back later and he had enough. I was like, where did you get those bricks? He was like, oh, I found them on a construction site. I said, they threw away perfectly good bricks. He's like, don't worry about it. So then it still didn't quite work. He was trying to get drone shots. Anytime he saw kids working at school, a little creepy, like fly his drone up to like try to get evidence. He'd walk in the street, so he put up signs. The final thing he did was this, and I was like, how'd you afford that mulch? He's like, I found it. I was like, you found it? He's like, don't worry about it. And what you have here is a sidewalk. Now, is this ADA compliant? Can everyone use this? The answer is no. Do some people might think that this looks bad or don't like, it doesn't matter. The thing is, it's a little bat signal of hope that's showing people that someone noticed their problem and they're doing what they can with what they have to fix it. And this is one of the little things that I think is so important and can't be understated. The next thing is, that was let's make a sidewalk, let's find a sidewalk. There was a tragedy in Chattanooga in 2023 involving pedestrian deaths, and around that time, there was a neighborhood association getting started in the very neighborhood where that happened. They became activists, showing up to city council, showing up to meetings about that design. They got radicalized in a way, but instead of it dying off, like we were talking about this earlier, like you need someone to show up regularly, this group doubled down and they've been showing up ever since. And one of the things they do is they clear pathways in their neighborhood. You can 311 them in Chattanooga, it's not always going to get cleared. You can wait for someone to do it, it's not always going to happen. You can think, I pay taxes, they should be doing this, it doesn't always happen. And so what they started doing was once a month going out and clearing sidewalks themselves. So they would get bush hogs. And here's the thing, neighbors who've been there for 15 years are saying, we didn't even know there was a sidewalk there. And I like, look, that is a sidewalk. That's what it looked like. This is what it looks like after. But here's the thing, after doing this a few months, I'm gonna go back to, the city saw their announcement that this was happening and sent out a bush hog and chopped up the biggest trees that are really hard to do. So basically hedge trimmers, whatever, and the city came and supported them. And they touted that as a win, and people keep getting mad. The city should be doing this. Why are you excited about this being a win? They're like, the city is responding to our action. And this is the power of lots of little things. In marketing, there's this concept of jab, 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 right hook. It comes from this guy named Gary Vaynerchuk. But here's the thing. A lot of times what we see, like imagine you don't know what boxing is. You see two people bouncing around, doing these little jabs that do nothing, right? The person's dodging them, they're ducking out of them, and then at the end, they do a right hook, and let's say they knock the other person out. You might think, well, why didn't you just start with a right hook? Why didn't you just knock them out to begin with? But the problem is that doesn't work. And in marketing, it's kind of this idea of the right hook is asking people for their money and they give it to you. And so again, the lazy shortcut is marketers think, well, we should just ask for money more often. We should ask for credit cards. And Gary Vaynerchuk, as a marketer, says, no, the jabs are important to build up to the right hook. And the jabs in marketing are you're providing value for your customer. The small things in your community are the jabs, so that when budget season happens, and that city councilor is like, how am I gonna spend my one precious, very limited budget? They're gonna look at the neighborhood associations, the mutual aid that's happening, and how they can amplify those. And that's something that can be huge within your communities. Let me check how we're doing on time real quick. Oh man,
Keep going.
we're gonna do it. The next section is copy and paste. So I wanna share with you stories of hopes. These are getting into the medium-sized problems within a city, and that can be solved not just on the individual and neighborhood level, but also including different organizations. Oh, I just closed out of this. All right, so one of my favorite ones is this. That same person that did that sidewalk helped me with this project. There was a meeting in a room similar to this size where they had paid someone to come speak, and it was the former the former Parks and Rec director from New York City. His name is Mitchell Silver. He's really cool. And he had this statement in the middle of his talk where he said, if your city doesn't have enough seating, that's your cue to build more, not to remove what you have. I had chills go up my spine because just 2 weeks earlier, the city had removed 9 benches from downtown because they didn't like the people that were loitering on them. There were city councilors and members from the mayor's office in the room, and I went up to the guy afterwards. I was like, dude, I appreciate the guts you had. He was like, what are you talking about? I told him the situation. He's like, I didn't know that was the situation. I'm not trying to stir the pot. I'm not that type of guy. And I'm like, I think I am that type of guy. So I was like, I called up a street artist who I'd never met before, and I said, hey, I'm gonna build a big bench. I'm gonna put it in place of one of these benches. Can you make it stand out? And he was like, bet. I was like, it's behind my house. And like 10 minutes later, he's like, I got it. Never saw it. Just like thief in the night. Boom, took it. And funny story. This is funny. The day before, the day before we were gonna put it out, I realized there was a typo here. And I was like, hey, there's a typo here. We need to fix this. He's like, I got an idea. I was like, okay, what are you gonna do? He's like, I already did it. Go look. He covered the bottom line with this yellow stripe. Now, we had done another project as a group going by the Chattanooga Urbanist Society. And in that project, there had been some like yellow caution tape involved. And so after this project took off, some people were like, I love the intentionality with the yellow stripe referencing the first project. I was like, oh yeah, that's totally on purpose. But here's what we did. We put that bench there, and then this is where VD comes in. Remember from the Chattanooga Community Fridge? I put it out there on social media, and we were doing this anonymously. We're a group, we didn't know how much trouble we could get into. And we said, hey, look, if you go by this bench and the city hasn't removed it yet, because we were anticipating that, can you take a picture of it, post it on your story with a timestamp, that way we can triangulate about how long it lasted. Well, people started driving out to go see the bench. People were putting up it almost became like this little shrine with notes and mementos on it. But within 72 hours, the city brought the original bench back. And a member of the mayor's office told us to come pick up our bench. They didn't even trash it, it still happened. Now, what this did is it got a video that we had made get over 3 million views. And it launched the Benches for Bus Stops campaign. Let me go back. Where we started, and we were working on this before this bench project. We were already thinking, how can we take dumpster wood and turn it into benches at bus stops and place them around town? We'll get local artists to paint them, we'll put them out. And so what this did was jumpstart that project. And now, something began to happen when we did this. All right, I'm missing it. What ended up happening is we didn't just see our benches out in the wild, we started seeing copycats. So usually I have 3 different versions of the copycat showing up. And then there was one particular copycat version that started popping up everywhere. And it was my friend Corey, who worked for a nonprofit and got a $50 stipend for being on the board. And he thought, I'm gonna build a new bench every month with this stipend. And he did it. And this arts and crafts circle came to him. This lady in her 70s is like, hey, we want to paint some benches, can you build us some? He's like, it's gonna take me 4 months. She's like, I'll raise the money on my Facebook group. He's like, all right, that's cute. And she's like, here's $2,000, how many benches can you build? And you know, like Jaws is like, we're gonna need a bigger boat. He's like, I'm gonna need a bigger workshop. What's cool now, in August, there were 40 benches built by a high school in Saudi Daisy because she keeps raising money and he keeps saying, I can't do this, and she finds high schoolers to build them. Collectively, between our benches, his benches, and everything, there's over 200 benches at bus stops across the city of Chattanooga. Not only has the city not removed them, the Chattanooga Urbanist Society, which is not a real organization, it's 3 raccoons in a trench coat, they got a State of the City award from the mayor. Now, it's a very love-hate relationship with mayor because we don't pull punches and sometimes it's embarrassing, but we've gotten projects done and you can get them done too, and you don't need permission to do it. In fact, one of the coolest things I saw is that Corey would take the leftover wood from his bench projects and make these little spots, or these little boxes, and put them in places where maybe it's not bench worthy, it's not a high use bus stop, but again, it's that little bat signals of hope that are going up when people see this and they understand it. And you might look at it and say, that's cute, but that's not that official. How can this become anything other than a social movement? Well, first off, the social movement is justification enough. But second off, when you look at cities around the world, world-class cities, like the city of London, they're doing what they can with what they have. When they need to create a low-traffic neighborhood that they think is good to be a low-traffic neighborhood, they don't wait till they have concrete and bollards and budget. They put up wooden flower boxes. These are modal filters, bikes, strollers, carts, rollerbladers, walkers can all walk through, cars can't. And this is an example of what we need to do. And they're getting data when they do this. So when they do get a budget, they know where to pour that money into. Hold this in your mind. We're going to get back to it later. This is my favorite example. Does anybody recognize this object? Anybody know what it is? It's called the Camden bench. It's in London. This bench is designed to discourage upwards of 12 antisocial behaviors. What type of things do you think are being discouraged by the design of this bench? Sleeping. It's going to be hard to sleep on that. Anything else? Skateboarding. Someone said that's the first time I've heard that. Pro-social behavior, but antisocial in public. Yeah. Though the other thing is, like, even sitting or loitering is kind of discouraged. It's not comfortable to sit on. The undulating shapes make it hard to escape. My favorite one that I didn't notice, this alcove is deep enough to put your purse behind so that someone are less likely to steal it, but it's not so deep that you could plant a bomb there. This is an area of design that's known as hostile architecture. What message is this sending to your community?
You're not invited.
Go away, we don't want you here, it's not safe, it's not good. So I want to talk about the opposite of that. Lafayette, Louisiana, which is how they say it in Louisiana. Lafayette, Louisiana had this problem. After COVID, their main park downtown, Park Sans Souci, was not being visited anymore. And there was a working theory. We have a gazebo there, and there's a houseless population that's always there. People don't feel comfortable around the houseless population, they're not coming to the park. They came to the Downtown Alliance, and they're like, we want to fix this. Can you fix it for us? And they said, what's our budget? And they said, $10,000. And they were like, what can we do with $10,000? Well, the first thing we do is maybe overtime police officers, kick people out of the gazebo, but eventually that money's going to run out, and our hope is maybe we've activated the park enough that people will come back anyways. We could try to do that $10,000 to remove the gazebo, but what happens when you make a place hostile for the most vulnerable people? it's hostile for everyone else. If you make sure that the homeless doesn't have a bench, then guess who doesn't have a bench? The 70-year-old lady who needs a place to walk, sit down halfway through her walk. The doctor on her residency who has 30 minutes to enjoy the sunshine and likes eating her lunch in the park. The single mom with a baby who needs an ad hoc changing table doesn't have that anymore. And so they went, and someone brought up the fact, they're like, hey, what if instead of trying to minus something, the houseless population, what if we tried to plus something? What if we tried to bring the type of people that don't care about the fact that houseless people are in the area, and maybe they could be a social lubricant to the young families? Someone got the idea of skateboarders, because they used to be there. And skateboarders are almost like a pioneer species. Anyone here a biologist? Biology, saying? Okay, cool. No one's going to hold me accountable if I get this wrong. So the idea of succession is when life enters an area. Second succession is like after there's been a mass extinction event, life comes back to an area. I've started to think of things like this as second succession. Second successions are successful when a single plant comes back first, that's the pioneer species. Other plants can thrive off that planet until an ecosystem arrives. So using skaters as a pioneer species, they went to the local skate shop and said, hey, we got $10,000. The city's not gonna like us building a skate park here, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna tell the city we're building benches. You gotta give us the most skatable thing we can do for $10,000. And this is what they came up with. That's the bench. So first off, the city was like, yeah, you can build benches. And this is what they built. Now, they built it 19 inches high because anywhere between 16 and 20 inches, you're tempted to sit on something. And it worked. People skated on it. It brought people back. And if you go there now, the park is full of young families. And guess who isn't there? The houseless population's still there. They're still there, but people don't care. It's not always the presence of people that make you feel uncomfortable, it's the absence of everyone else. And so what they did here without having, and here's the thing, there's probably stories of Lafayette being unjust to homeless people. Those homeless people probably face some sort of discrimination or whatever. I'm not saying things are perfect there. And I'm telling this like a just so story as if everything's perfect. But in this case, this did work. And they brought people back to the area. There's this great quote by Blaise Pascal. In this case, he's talking about the gospel. But he said something. It's like our goal isn't to just prove to people that it's true. It's to make the good people wish it were true. Then we show them that it is. When Carol was talking about that artist in Detroit, he asked her and he said, the goal of miracles is belief. This is what we're talking about. Little tiny miracles that make believers out of skeptics. We need to do it. And that question that was asked, what are we going to do when the memory's lost? We've got to start making more memories. It's going to be small. And that's where we're getting into this third and final section. We're going to make it official. We're going to go from that pirate to policy. I'm going to show you some examples of it. The first thing I like to tell people is you are 3 emails away from being on a first name basis with your city council. 3 email exchanges away. Because next to you are the people that you meet, there's the people that they meet, there's the people they meet, and it goes on and on. Somewhere in that strata is your city councilor, your Parks and Rec director, somebody with influence, and they get emails whenever shit hits the fan, and then they never hear from that person again. If you can find something positive to engage with them about, or negative, but do it respectfully, and you reach out to them a couple times, this made me think of you, figure out what the rule is around giving. Can you spend up to $50? Buy them a book. Tell them you thought about them. Ask them to lunch. Ask them to coffee. Almost every city councilor has had a one-on-one with me because I asked. Most of these people didn't even know who I was. And so I think you should follow every politician you can imagine on social media, and you should engage with them in the DMs, in their comments, liking their posts when it makes sense. So this is just an aside, but you should reach out to them. Don't be a burden. Be positive as much as you can, but reach out to them, and you're going to skip 6 strata of influence. You're going to have a city councilor, for better or for worse, who knows who you are, and it's going to be important later. The goal here is these small projects that we're copying and pasting is re-engaging the imagination of people. When we had that dystopian, utopian binary, the biggest hurdle we face is imagination of what a place could be. People don't understand how much space cars take up until they experience that space without cars. People don't understand how loud highways are until they see it closed off to cars with bikes riding down it. And this is what you're doing, is you're essentially rewiring their brains. Ira Glass, NPR guy, he has this great theory, he calls it the gap theory. He's like, look, when you decide to do something, it's probably because you're someone with good taste. And on the other side of what you want to do is good work, but in the middle are 1,000 shitty projects. And he's like, and imagine this, imagine if you're a food critic, you have good taste, and you decide to become a chef. You know what world-class food tastes like, you're not going to do that in your first dish. And he's like, and what you need to start doing is you need to start filling that gap with shitty projects. You need to start getting that momentum. It's never going to be perfect. And what he points out is most people stop right here. He's like, but if you fill this up, you get to do good work. And this is at the heart of this copy and paste model, this doing little things model, is that your city, and I like what Kathleen said about Lyndhurst. She was like, from a donor model, we want to see the momentum. We want to see the community, we want to hear the stories, but we also want to see examples of what you doing something with what you have. And so as you fill the gap, you need to keep this in mind. No one knows what they're doing before they do it. You will be capable of more than one. And one of the things that you're going to be capable of is expanding your imagination between what's holding you back. Guess how many times I've been stopped by police? Hundreds, dozens of benches placed, crosswalks painted. 0 times. The only time I had engagement with police is police saying thank you. Now, here's the thing. I need to acknowledge my privilege. I'm a white 30-year-old man. I can go in places at night if I want to and not be afraid for my life. I'm not afraid of the cops doing anything other than giving me a warning the first time. And that's something we say at the Urbanist Societies. We expect more from the people with privilege to do these risky things, but I will also say that it's not as risky as you think. Okay, so remember this talk started with a crosswalk, which by the way, I was a humanities major. I'm not a very calculating person. I'm the furthest thing from an engineer you'll ever find. My math classes in college had titles like physics and everyday life, and like advanced reasoning for a liberal arts major. Like I do not, and I was hoping when I announced this project on across our network that someone would be like, I'll do it. Nobody would do it. So like the day before, I was like, I hope I can figure this out. We bought paint. Crosswalk Collective LA is a group out of LA that puts up plans on how to do MUTCD compliant crosswalks, which by the way, what they do is they paint a crosswalk. If the city catches it and gets rid of it, they use that PR to raise money. Look at the city removing a crosswalk that they won't paint themselves. If the city doesn't catch it, they let the crosswalk wear down over time, and then they 311 it, and the city starts maintaining the crosswalk over time. Remember that story, it's going to be important. In my neighborhood, there are 3 schools that take up an old university, that old university campus that shut down during COVID. These 3 schools are all city schools, charter schools. They're deeply built into the biggest neighborhood in Chattanooga. Blue Cross Blue Shield built this great magnet park that draws people in. And then you have this street that cuts through called Hawthorne Avenue. Hawthorne Avenue connects 2 major thoroughfares. Hawthorne Avenue has 0 stop signs. Cars fly through. Oh, and also schools don't allow parking. So this road, being like 38 feet wide, is even wider because you're not even allowed to park over most of this. So cars fly through here. I heard that the Greater Chattanooga Realtor Association was giving out $25,000 placemaking grants. So I got out my software, Instagram, photos on my iPad, and I drew up these plans, and I talked about what I would do to slow cars down without speed bumps, without any of that. And I got the most kick-ass letters of support I could, including from 2 different city councilors. One was my city councilor who I had a good relationship with, but she was outgoing, and so the grant didn't close then. The second one was the guy who replaced her, who I ran against for a little bit. I tried city council. And when I dropped out, he was like, how can I help you? I was like, oh, I know what you can do. You wrote a letter of support. We're friends now, it's cool. But here's what happened, is we got the grant, and then we were like, shoot, we don't have permission to do this. Greater Chattanooga Board of Realtors wants to put this on their website. They want this to go on social media. They saw I had a lot of followers and thought this will be great PR. How are we going to do this? And so we had to figure out a way to make it official. And so my friend Teal Tebow, who now works for Street Plans, which is a tactical urbanist group, we met with the head of public works. He nodded his head, said, this is great, this sounds great, but I'm an appointed position, the mayor needs to be on board with this. I was like, dude, if the mayor has to approve every crosswalk in the city, this is never gonna happen. He's like, I'm sending it to the mayor. I kept bugging him, and he was like, I already asked the mayor, it's not in your hands anymore, stop bugging me. Well, when mom says no, you ask dad. And one time I saw in a meeting, because the mayor has mayor@chattanooga.gov, but that goes to his staff. I saw this email address that didn't make sense, and I was like, that's the mayor's. And I emailed him, and I told him about this project, and so blah, 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 blah. Dad said this project should move ahead, and Public Works had to okay on it. They killed some parts of the project, which were the most interesting parts, in part to have like that power. But what we did is we got community 100%, the National Design Center, which we're gonna talk about later. They said, when you go to close the streets, the city is gonna want to know your protocol. It's going to be overly dramatic. It's going to be overly expensive. So here's what you're going to do. Apply to throw a block party before you even do this. And then at the point where they say, all right, what's your plan for closing on the streets? You're like, oh, they're actually already going to be closed for a block party. A block party is $25 and a process. And it happened just like they said it would happen. We had already had the streets closed down. What was the block party? It was just people painting the streets. But we had already closed the block party. And the neighborhood association was on board with us. They accepted the grant on our behalf. So we got community members, not professionals. There was an engineering group who helped draw up the plans pro bono because they saw what we were doing and they liked it. We've had random people show up. Erin is from Atlanta. She showed up at one of the later phases of this project. And we just started painting. There were kids in the street having fun. There were kids making jokes about how they wish they could play in the streets all the time. I'm like, that's what we're trying to do. And it turned out really good. Now, what we're doing here is called tactical daylighting. You're not allowed to park here. But in America, we usually put up a sign that says, no parking here to corner. What usually happens? Cars be parking here to corner. And so what happens when a car parks here is it blocks the visual field of other drivers. But we didn't just want paint, we wanted to put up these posts right here. This is like Chekhov's gun. Any theater majors in there? And so you're like, what's this all about? This is all it's about. You put these up around it so that cars can't take sharp turns, so that cars can't park without destroying some aspect of public infrastructure. And neighbors, this person right here are retirees, and they let us hook up to power all this. I didn't know this till like 2 days ago, that he did not support this project. He's just a nice guy, and he's like, I've seen the difference it's made. By the way, this is a school and the only opponent of the project, because they were afraid of how it was going to affect school pickup lines. So you'll notice we could do daylighting 4 feet on each side, but we did 8 feet on 3 sides and left this so that their pickup line wouldn't be affected. That was the only way they were going to be on board with us. But it was actually a great lesson to learn. So now neighbors are coming saying, we've seen speeds be reduced. People that hate speed bumps love this. And also sometimes speed bumps don't make sense. Because you slow someone down mid-block, what do you do after you slow down? You speed up. And if there's no stop sign at that intersection, you're going fastest where it's most dangerous and vulnerable. So this is what we need. Here's more pictures. Now, we've got an agreement to keep this in for a year, and then we're going to repaint it and apply for another year. We'll probably get it. And then we're going to start looking for grants to harden this up with concrete, maybe turn it into bioswales, things like that. And people are like, why are you doing this in Highland Park? Highland Park doesn't need it. Other neighborhoods need it. I was like, I'm doing this in Highland Park because I live here. If you want it in your neighborhood, I will provide air support, but go get shit done. Let's do this together. Okay, so now I want to talk about the Civic Design Center. They are based out of Nashville. They are helping me more, they are helping me despite the fact that they are not local, because I was struggling to get some local help. So I try to follow them in everything they do. Recently, they had an intersection. And here's the thing, the Civic Designs, all right, I gotta wrap this up real quick. The Civic Design Center started an organization called Turbo, which stands for Tactical Urbanist Organization, for doing these one-off projects, for legitimizing a process for getting things done that aren't official, that are pilot programs, that are practicing it, and they earned the respect of the city, so much so that the city recently set aside $1 million towards tactical projects, and anyone can apply for it. Church, schools, nonprofits, and because Turbo exists, if anyone applies and fails, the city is like, hey, go talk to Turbo. They'll help you make it better. And the Civic Design Center is there to power it. So out of Memphis, they used up old tires to create delineators for bike lanes. They painted a traffic circle just using cones and paint. This intersection, which I can't remember the name of it now, which is pretty embarrassing. This intersection, this is brand new data, not released yet. This intersection had a 97% speed rate on it. The people who went through this were speeding 97% of the time. They got the numbers back and it's flipped. 3% are speeding through this. Now, I think this is like a 6 to 12 month project, but what's great about the relationship that Nashville has is they have a tactical urbanist person on Nashville's Department of Transportation whose job is to oversee these projects and to implement and support them. The idea is like, if the data's good, we're gonna harden it. If the data's bad, we're gonna take it out for you. But what's great here is that you're seeing something done with a much smaller budget. And here's where I wanna end. Burka Patel is a friend of mine. I mean, she got out of grad school and she was the only city planner for Jersey City. 250,000 people in the city of Jersey City. She was the one planner. She had a brand new mayor. Both of them didn't know what they didn't know. And one of the things that she came when she was at city staff, what's your plan? She's like, there's this thing in Europe they're doing, it's called Vision Zero. What's Vision Zero? 0 traffic deaths in a calendar year on city maintained streets. And he's like, okay, let's do it. So she started doing she came up with a few things that I think every city should adopt. She said, 1, we're gonna do what we can with what we have. We've got enough data, we know where the problem spots are, we're gonna do what we can with what we have. 2, no surveys without action. So often politicians send out surveys so that the issue can be divided, they can vote on it, and hopefully they vote on an action. He doesn't have to do anything. And so she's like, we're not gonna do a survey without action. If we are questioning putting a bike lane there, we're gonna put up a bike lane, even if it's for 4 hours, just to test it out. So no surveys without action. 3, people who are a part of the planning process are a part of the implementation. If you're at a desk drawing something, you're gonna be on the ground painting something the day it's implemented. And the city attorney came to them and said, this goes against our insurance charter. And she's like, we need to find a new insurance charter. And then, I don't remember how many things I said, but here's the fourth. The fourth thing, City Hall is ground zero for experimentation. The first bike racks, the first protected bike lane, the first smart bus stop bike storage, it's all in front of City Hall first. They have to live with it. They have to take their own medicine. They have to see how it works and performs from day to day. When she started doing this, she started getting flack. That civic courage really came into play. And someone came to the mayor and said, look, if you don't stop her, you are not going to get elected to your second term. So he met with her to rein her in. And he said, is this the right thing to do? She said, it's the right thing to do. And he said, then just go do it. And he got elected to a second term, overwhelmingly. Probably could have slid into a third term, but decided to run for governor. That didn't work out. But the biggest thing, what we're seeing with her, is do what you can with what you have. You've looked at all my examples. You've seen plastic, paint, ugly benches. You're like, that doesn't look like the placemaking I usually see when I'm applying for grants. What I love about this idea of doing what you can with what you have is there's a street that made sense to pedestrianize. They didn't have money for it. When they closed off the street, people really didn't do much different. People still crowded the sidewalks during busy hours. She was like, we need to change the color of the pavement. We need to remove the traffic markings. They're like, we don't have money for paint. She said, what about the tennis court paint? We have extra tennis court paint. They said, well, here's the thing. The MUTCD doesn't allow green to be used on anything other than bike lanes. And she's like, well, I'm gonna paint it and we'll see what the MUTCD comes and does. He painted it green and it worked. People began to spill out into the streets. This became an incredibly popular place. And eventually they were able to firm it up, and now it's granite, it's planters, it's trees, it's beautiful, and it's expanding every year as they move out. At the heart of Jersey City is this pedestrianized plaza. They had set a goal for 10 years. We want to get to Vision Zero in 10 years. This started in 2017, and they hit it in 2022. They are, from what I know, the biggest American city to accomplish this goal. Anytime you talk about stuff, people are going to say, that's Denmark, that's Japan, that's not America. And I was so glad, because I was like, we have it in America. And they were like, well, we're not Jersey City. So I now need Knoxville to do cool stuff so that Chattanooga gets jealous and decides to do cool stuff. When we're thinking about the challenges that we have, they are big challenges. But the little things stack up against big challenge. It gives us data on how to grow. And if you do nothing else leaving here but build a bench and place it without permission, to organize the trash cleanup and just dump the bags in a pile and 311 it, let the city deal with it. If you do nothing but those things, you're gonna start this little micro-radicalization that gives you a sense of autonomy and ownership over your community. That placemaking will start to happen. It'll start with you, but that mutual aid will grow and it will expand to others. Thank you so much.
I can go.
It's 1:56.
Hit me up afterwards if you want to talk.
Are you gonna be here for a little bit?
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. Give it up again. Shoo. Okay, that was fantastic. So we have examples of this in our city that we have done. That when we started out, Haley was showing a picture of Dolly Parton in the alleyway. Everyone knows what we're talking about next to them. So that started here with graffiti in this town, in that alleyway, and that's illegal. And that alleyway used to be a wonderful place to use the bathroom at 1 a.m. And people started getting together and painting those walls illegally, and then the owners of the buildings got wind of it, they got a little bit of permission, and now the city runs all the storm drains, like the city invested in the storm drains going down, and like, it's a terrible place to use the bathroom now. So what Jon Jon says is right. So we've learned so much today. It is 2 o'clock. I don't even know how to wrap this up. Here's what my takeaways are. Every single one of us can do a little thing. Because we care about this city. We care about keeping Knoxville beautiful. And those little things build together, right? There's 100 people in here. It's 100 little things. Little things entice investment from the city. They entice investment from neighbors. And they can inspire awe. And awe generates more belief. So, we've all got little projects. I want to see more benches. I do work for the city. And I want to see more benches at bus stops, and I want to see people doing this. So I participated in Paint the Pavement projects before. There's lots of help with organizations here. But what we can do is we can take these ideas and we can talk to one another. We can give to organizations like Keep Knoxville Beautiful and like Yes Knoxville, and we can work with all the partners and the city officials that are here, and we can take these ideas and run with them. So I'm just super grateful to be a part of this today. I'm stoked that we've got all these amazing presenters and that we've got to all share in this experience, these ideas. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for like caring about what we do in Knoxville, and let's do some placemaking. So give it up for yourselves.
Thanks. Okay. Everybody, thank you. I hope you had as much fun as I did. It's always super exciting when everything works out the way you want it to, and the speakers talk about the things you want them to, and everybody loves the speakers, so I'm really happy. We had such an amazing crew here today, and people traveled from Memphis, Chattanooga, all over the place, so I want to say once again, thank you so much to our speakers that came in. I think also something to note is that Keep Knoxville Beautiful is kind of like the perfect bridge. Like, we are really great partners with our city and county representatives. We have a lot of city council people in the room today, so thank you for coming. And we have commissioners that are super supportive of the things that we do. And also, we like to get things done. So, most of you know because you come out and volunteer with us. So, if you're ever trying to do something a little fun, a little bit pirate, but like want some support, we're down. So, please let us know. So I want to say once again, thank you so much to our sponsors. I'm going to list them again. WM, Barbara McMurray Architects, Beasley Landscape Architects, Headstrom Landscape Architecture, Sesco Lighting, Yes Knoxville, and the Office of Neighborhood Empowerment of the city. They made this happen. They helped bring these speakers. So once again, say thank you to them. our good friends at Dogwood Arts are having an event next weekend. Yep. I think it's, the 6th through 8th. And because these always like line up around the same time, we like to support each other. And so they have offered all of you free tickets to go to the House and Garden show if you would like. So we will probably send this out in a wrap-up email as well. But you can scan the QR code here and then use the code KKB 100. And you can get up to 2 free tickets. So if you want to do that next weekend with your time, feel free. I'm gonna see if I can click around. Oh, it's tight in there. Oh, save the date, y'all. We already picked a date for orchids next year. So November 4th, we're gonna be back at the KMA and we're very excited. Everybody who had a good time there, please join us again. And if you are involved in any sort of cool, beautiful projects in Knoxville, keep an eye out for application, nomination forms, late spring, early summer. We're pretty excited about that. Our sponsors once again. Let's see what else we got. This was our fun looping slideshow, so I'm just going kind of rogue here. So I also wanted to invite you, if you guys have any interest, we had a January Saturday Spruce Up signed up or scheduled for last weekend, and then as everybody knows, we were all panicked. So we rescheduled our January Saturday Spruce Up for next weekend as well. So you can sign up on our website. We also have our huge North Knoxville community cleanup that's going to be on February 28th. And so you can sign up as an individual, or if you have a group of friends, group of people that want to go out and make something a little bit more beautiful. I don't know what you're going to do while you're out there. Maybe pick up litter, maybe install a bench. I don't know. So if you want to do that, February 28th, you can sign up on our website as well. And then we have events all the time, you know this, but feel free to come out. And then I think that's all. Oh, one more reminder about continuing ed credits. So if you want to get credits for any of these 3 professions, visit the KKB table. And I think that's all I got. Follow us on social media. And if you have, everybody does, that's not a question. You all have name tags, right? We don't want to waste those. So either, I think, leave them in bags at one of the doors. So leave your name tags. We reuse these every year. So please leave them. And then have a beautiful day.